Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, The Mystical Phoenix 777. In this channel, we talk about mysticism, occultism, anything related with these topics. And I have released a few videos on card readings, on sound, and today is about Saturn. So I will invite you to subscribe to my channel and to hit the bell button so you can help me with the algorithm and get out there and hopefully to get more subscribers, and we can all learn about different topics and the way we interpret these topics in our lives and how we experience them. So hit the subscribe button, the notification button, and let's begin. So today I'm prone to talk about Saturn. Why Saturn? Because recently I noticed, well, this is recently for me, I noticed in social media the relationship that is being given to Saturn with the black cube and the cube, or the symbolism that secret societies use to manipulate the society as a whole, as well the relationship the Saturn with Satan. So I want you to go with me inside the rabbit hole and let's find information on how I'm being connected some of the different topics in mysticism with this. So be aware of numbers and the mythology and all that stuff, because this is how we connect the dots and how we correlate one thing to another. So Saturn is the sixth planet in our solar system. Saturn is surrounded by a ring that creates the sensation of restriction to that planet. Astrologically speaking, Saturn is the seventh planet and is depicted by this symbolism, which is the cross and the semicircle. The cross is represented by the number 4, or the 4 elements, which are fire, air, water, and earth. And the number 4 is the number of structure, and the semicircle that it represents the moon or the subconscious mind, which is the symbolism also of the divinity or Trinity, which is represented by the number 3. So we had the combination of the number 7 with the 4 and 3, and also the number 6. Saturn is a planet that is composed for two of the major components of Saturn is hydrogen, and the fuse of hydrogen creates helium. So its biggest component is helium, and helium is a element that is very light. It's a light gas. We know it in here when we fill our balloons with helium. If you don't hold it and you let it go, it goes up in the sky. So helium is also composed by 6 particles, which are 2 protons, 2 neutrons, and 2 electrons. Once again, we find the number 6. Also, the same components of the planet Saturn are said that are the same components of our sun. And just keep this in mind. So in the mythology, in the Greek mythology, Saturn is known as Kronos, the god of time and cycles. Kronos, with a cycle, he castrates his father and also devours his own children. Why? Because Kronos don't want to give up the power, and he did that to his father so he can throw him out of the throne, and now he can put himself in there, and he devour his own children so he can keep the power and the control. So remember all this terminology, because then we can connect the dots. Also is related to Saturno, the Roman god. This god is related to harvesting, to the crops, and also to the Saturnalia, which it was a big festival celebrated during the winter solstice. The winter solstice is the celebration of the shorter day of the year and the return of the light. Some of this festivity we still carry on with the celebration of Christmas. So just throwing information out there, so is for you to find more if you are interested on these topics. So these gods was the god of opulence, Saturno, and also we had the Saturday, which comes from that name. And Saturday, depending on what you believe, is your 6th day or your 7th day of the week. So just keep in mind those numbers. Also, Saturn takes around 29.4 years to go around the sun. When you add those 3 numbers, you get back the number 6. In astrology, it's very common to say, I'm experiencing the return on Saturn, as it takes that amount of years to return to us. So we start to feel the effects of that energy around when we start turning 28, which is a relationship between the numbers 7 and 4. We get 28 divided by 7, we get the number 4, which is the number of structure. We start to feel that effect for the next 2 to 3 years, and everybody feels it differently. For example, my experience with that's at that time, it was when I got pregnant and I moved out of my country. So that started to shape the life that I have now during that time. And if I'm lucky enough, I will have the second return when I'm close to my 60th birthday. And for the majority of us at that time, we start to plan for our retirement. So remember that Saturn is the cycles, is about time. So when we talk about Saturn physiologically, we associate it with the skeleton system, the skin, and teeth, gallbladder, spleen, and Saturn represents in our bodies the form and structure and the time factor of growth. We are no species that we grow overnight. Everything takes time. It is said that we get a new body every 7 years. Once again, the number 7. And remember, the number 7 is the number of the seek of spirituality, the spiritual growth. So we can think of Saturn as the necessary force for keep bounds and regulations relating growth and being restricted by time. Psychologically speaking, Saturn represents our urge for developing self-discipline and self-consciousness. So that's the part where the mind and everything, the limits become now to drop, because that's not the reality. When we incarnate, it is said that we get the veil of forgetting. We forget who we are and from where we come from, where we come from. And that's the reason we experience the limitations of time. In the year 1981, the NASA sent a spacecraft to study Saturn, and during that time it was discovered that Saturn in his North Pole has the shape of a hexagon, and in the South Pole it has the shape of a circle. Some of the mystics consider that circle at the south to be the Eye of Ra, or the all-I-See eye. I don't have much information about this topic, but I would like to learn more. So if you have some, you feel free to share with me. Now, in the hexagon of the North Pole, once again, number 6, it is also the hexagon contains the Star of David, which is depicted with the triangle up and the triangle down, and in the mysticism the elements are represented by the triangle. So that part of materialism that we come to learn here in this planet, and through this matter or heavy matter, how we all can find the spirituality as well. So depending on how we see the hexagon, we can also, our perspective can see it as a cube. And the cube is a three-dimensional square. And is a symbol of stability. It represents the final stage of a cycle of immobility. What it means that if you think of yourself inside a cube, you will be surrounded by four identical walls. And because of that, that give you the sensation that the immobility, because that's all you can see around you. So again, it's all about the perspective. When we talk about this cube, some of the organized religions and some of the secret societies use this symbolism because they have the knowledge, so they make us like feel we are in the matrix. That's the reality, that there is nothing beyond that. And that's where I relate this cube, these teachings, and that's why it's important for us to understand and to seek for bigger truths, and especially through us. So Saturn has the role to teach us through time, through suffering, to learn to find inside ourselves the inner strength and the inner knowledge of ourselves, so we can bring forth that light and not emphasize ourselves only into the material aspect of the experience here on earth, but finding balance. The hexagon shape is the symbol of harmony and balance between male and female energies. So why is how that is related to getting ourselves the veil of forgetting? So recently, I had the opportunity to be at Stonehenge, especially in the inner circle. During this time, I learned that Stonehenge is the representation of Saturn here on this planet Earth. As this portal is energetically charged, it is believed, it is said that this is one of the 9 points around the Earth where the feminine and masculine energies are balanced. Also, the 30 stones up around the Stonehenge, representing the almost 30 years that takes Saturn to go around the sun. So while being there, I was in a state of meditation, and I was working before I got there in balancing my masculine and feminine energy. Remember that we all have both energies regardless of what we choose to be, women, men, or, like whatever. We have both energies. And the intention by finding that balance is that we get back to our eternal nature, that we are beings of eternity, that regardless if this body is decayed, dies, doesn't matter, our spirit is eternal and it can come back. So we can understand death as the process of transformation, because it's always when something ends, something new begins. So just keeping on that in consideration. Going back to our solar system, we had the sun and we had Saturn, and between those two we had the planet Earth. Another correlation that I was able to make is, if you are familiar with the Emerald Tablets or Hermes Trismegistus or the Emerald Tablets of Thought, which are said to be the same topic for another video, I was able to get the relationship with this. Why? Because the Emerald Tablet, it brings us the 7 universal laws. And how I do relate that, because we all have 7 principal chakras in our bodies. Those 7 chakras, I do believe, and I do think it's true, and I had heard this in different channels, even in Gaia and in other platforms, that these laws are represented in each one of those chakras. During one meditation, I was told that we are the walking emerald tablets. So that's the reason we don't find the physical tablet because it's ingrained in between ourselves. So we are that tablet walking. And why I'm doing this analogy? Because so we had the sun, we had Saturn, we had planet Earth. The planet Earth I connected with a heart chakra. Our heart chakra is the chakra that is the bridge between the 3 upper chakras and the 3 lower chakras. So in this universe, the majority of solar systems are binaries. That means that they have 2 suns. And some of the mystics believe Saturn is the darkest sun. So at the beginning I mentioned of the components of the Saturn are the same as the sun. So it's like you can make your own conclusions. So when planet Earth is connected to our heart chakra, then that means that brings the 3 upper chakras towards the light, towards the sun, and the 3 lower chakras towards the dark, towards Saturn. So that is what here in this planet we experience the material world, and through that experience we are the intention is to find our enlightenment through experience this world in the material. So it's that composition and the bounds of our body prevents us from reach that is what we had to also overcome. Another analogy that I found is because I am very fond of tarot cards. Why? Especially the major arcana. Because it's the story of the fool who comes and learns. Is the journey of the fool. So who is the fool? We all are the fool who come to this life blinded. We don't have no knowledge. We have the veil of forgetting. We don't know where we're going and why we're going. So that's the story of the journey of the fool and all the experiences that we as a human beings live in this earth. And the card connected to the planet Saturn is the last card of the major arcana, which is the card of the world. Also in this deck is the card number 21. We get back to the number 3, which is the divinity. And if you see this card, you find the circle, and is the completion of all the lessons that the fool has to learn in order to come the conclusion of his own divinity and how through that divinity he's able to conquer the world. So that's because now that limitation is removed. Also, Saturn is the ruler of the zodiac sign of Capricorn, the goat that climbed the mountain and go to the top. Is the Capricorn is depicted by the devil. So the connection between Saturn and Satan is you see the 2 individuals in here, and you see the devil behind. These 2 individuals are also depicted in the card the Lovers, which is the card number 6. The devil is the card number 15, and if you reduce it to 1 digit, it gives you number 6. So the devil keeps them bound. Why? Because is the association that we get into the addictions and attachment to the material world, to the food, alcohol, drugs, and everything that generates a sense of pleasure. Even if it's for a moment, it's still that pleasure. We seek that pleasure in order for us to satisfy ourselves. So, and if you see that chains are around the neck, but they are loose, so that means that they are under that illusion, and at any moment they can free themselves from that. And that's us in this life living under the illusion of the matrix of this reality. So this is another card that I correlate into the connection between Saturn and the hidden knowledge. So that's the part those are the connections that I made. And when we balance the energies, when we find that balance between ourselves, because once again, the planet Earth, pulling by the two big giant suns, it's like you cannot be too close to the sun, because then you're gonna burn, and you cannot be too close to Saturn, because then it's gonna attract you. So it's like those two forces. So why is in the middle? To keep that balance, and that's what we had to seek in ourselves, that balance between the material and between the spiritual, because we are here to experience. It's not about forgetting about living, because that's what we are here, and through that experience we can find the divinity, and we can overcome the limitations of time and understand better why the cycles are given to us, so we can navigate through them and learn the lessons that we need to learn when the time is ready for it. So we can overcome that feeling of restriction, and why this knowledge or these symbolisms is used by secret societies to keep us under the spell or the dominion of them. So I did the analogy of ourselves to be like a tree. The tree, they grow up towards the light, towards the sun, but they cannot grow tall if they don't grow also their roots towards the dark, towards the inner space of earth. That's the same analogy for us. The only way we can grow towards the enlightenment is by going inward, is by going inside of us and deal with our shadows, with our own demons, with our own things, obscurity, so we can bring forth the light. Because we are polarized, we have both in us. And the moment we can find in the darkness the light. So those are my analogies. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any information, I would love for you to share with me. Please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. And yes, until next time, and let me know in your comments another topic that you want to talk about it. And if I know something, I will post it. If it's not, I will search for it, and maybe we can find deeper truths together. Until next time, have a good night. Bye for now.